I was looking through my mail thread on some of the comments, and I was looking at some of the things that people were asking to see. And we're going to be covering a controversial topic that a lot of people wanted to talk about. We're going to be covering where should Giannis end. First, the NBA season is still going. We saw the Pacers last night take on the Knicks in a very critical game and win in overtime. And but the recently we saw the NBA draft have their lottery draft. And, the Milwaukee Bucks are not in the first round with a draft pick at all. But they have quite a few people that could be interested in doing business with them if it means getting the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo on their roster. When you think about this, to me, and this is just me, Giannis Antetokounmpo should be staying on the East Coast. If he's traded, it'd be stupid to go to the West Coast. It's a lot more talent out on the West Coast. No matter where you go, you're probably going to have to gut a team on the West Coast in order to get there. So imagine if he goes to the Rockets, you have to give up so many picks and so many actual good players that by the time you get there, you're not going to have the same amount of players there. You're not going to have the same amount of talent. You're not going to have the same amount of guys that you're going to need to make a championship run, probably. And it just, I don't see the likes of any team going out west and you becoming better getting Giannis, but you're giving up your whole bench or you're giving up another star player and pieces to your bench that make your team so crucially good as they are right now. But I did look a little closer. I did look and see what teams possibly could benefit from having Giannis and what could possibly be that mark that you want to see for them. And I'm going to be honest with you. It was two teams that stuck out. And when I was looking at this, it didn't make all the sense for one team, but it does make all the sense for another team. The first team I looked at is the Spurs. When I looked at the Spurs, I looked at the Spurs and I looked at their roster. They have the right amount of pieces. They have the right amount of players that you want to trade off. And you also have, when you're looking at the actual roster, draft picks. With them having the second pick overall and them also having the 14th, I believe. Let me check. The 14th. Yep, the 14th overall pick. That's two picks within the top 15. That could be very attractive when you're looking to get a star like Giannis, and you could possibly throw in another player off that roster or two. And you got to look at this from the standpoint, if you could get Giannis and Victor Wembanyama on the same team, that's crazy. That's crazy. So I'm looking at Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama being a part of that core, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That being a solid core. When I'm looking at the overall roster right now, and I'm just looking to see, okay, it doesn't. Harrison Barnes can go, Charles Bassey can go, Bismack Biyombo can go, David Duke Jr. can go, Harrison Ingram can go, Keldon Johnson. Like a lot of these guys are nice. Jeremy Sochan, he can go too from Baylor. So you got to think you have, and Devin Vessel, you got a lot of good players that you could possibly trade to the Bucks. But also you got to think the draft picks are there. You got to also think that, you could really restart your turnaround to your team very quickly with a lot of those players from the draft. Having a second overall pick in this draft seems like it's going to be a good one. You won't get Cooper Flag, but you have other good teams, other good players that could be drafted for that. And the other team I look at, and believe it or not, that has different pieces on their roster that you could pluck, and also you can get draft picks, is the Brooklyn Nets. From the standpoint, you do have serviceable pieces on the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm just going to name a few. You got Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas is pretty serviceable. D'Angelo Russell, Cam Johnson, he's very reliable. Nick Claxton at the center position, he's young, a young stud. Shipping Giannis to there gives you the biggest flashpoint for players and for picks. And the reason I say this is because the Brooklyn Nets, not only are they very active, probably going to be in the draft, but you got to think they have the number 8 overall pick. They have the number 19 overall pick. They have the number 26 pick, number 27th pick. That's 4 picks inside the top 30. So when you're looking at this, rebuilding your team and restocking your team, this could be something you look at that you can either get those picks and flip those picks for later picks next year, where the draft may be even more deeper. You can use this as draft capital. You can even actually draft players this year. So you know in Milwaukee you're not going to be competing for a title. You know Dame is not coming back this year. If he does come back, he's probably going to come back on the backside of the year later, where you're not in playoff contention or you're not really actively expecting to win anything. But at this very moment, you got to think. You know, you got to get what you can get for Giannis. You know, teams know that he wants to leave possibly, so you got to do things quietly. But I think that by the draft, you can get a deal done and get solid picks back, get solid players back, so it doesn't look like some rush trade or some haphazard trade. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks have their work cut out for them. They know Giannis isn't really happy. He's not really happy losing in the first round anymore. He's not really accepting, a lot of the stuff that he used to accept because he's getting older now. He's 30 and he can see the end coming more than he can, staying very valid. But at this point in time, I think the Bucks need to make a move. They need to make a change. And at the end of the day, you got to think about it. It's not personal, it's business. He did bring a championship to Milwaukee. He did give blood, sweat, and tears to the organization. So I would say, listen, flip him to a place where you can get maximum value for your trade. The Brooklyn Nets have 4 picks in the top 20. The Spurs have 2 picks in the top 15. You never know what you can get when you trade, when you ask, hey, is Giannis available? You never know what's possible. So again, you have a roster with Brook Lopez on it. You have a roster with Giannis Antetokounmpo on it. You got a hurt Dame Lillard on it. You got Bobby Portis. You have Kuzma. I mean, you don't really have the best roster to start with. So rebuilding and going younger, I would definitely do it. I would entertain those teams that have a lot of draft picks and say, look, I'm going to do a full rebuild. I'm going to gut the whole team. We're getting rid of all high salary and we're going all young, get a couple of veterans in there and rebuild the right way, like Oklahoma City. So all you NBA fans, what do you think? Do you think Giannis, where should he go? Should he stay on the East Coast? Should he go to the West Coast? What team do you predict that he should go to? Definitely check out Sports Choice Plus.